All right, so yeah, we're incredibly excited to have you, Ms. Benitez, join us for whatever promises to be an inspiring and transformative conversation. Like I said, it's my pleasure today to introduce today's speaker, Lindsay Benitez. She's a credentialed coach and experienced trainer. She's also the founder of Lindsay B Coaching, LLC. Ms. Benitez brings over 15 years of HR leadership experience across industries like marketing, advertising, and entertainment. Through her work, she empowers professionals to lead with authenticity, confidence, and purpose. Her coaching and leadership programs are designed to help individuals thrive, especially in today's fast-changing and diverse workplaces. And this session will explore how to identify and move beyond the limiting beliefs that often stand in the way of personal and professional growth, especially for those navigating unique challenges in their leadership journeys. Now, before we begin, just a quick reminder, please make sure your microphones are muted during the session. And if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat throughout the session. We'll go ahead and get to as many as we can during the Q&A portion. But now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Miss Lindsay Benitez.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Donovan. Excited to be here. This is an incredible opportunity for you all to get to know each other, to learn from other speakers. So shout out to INROADS and the team for putting this together for you all. Before we jump right in, I want to just check in. How are you feeling? And don't give me good, fine, or busy, because that's how we always say we're feeling, right? How are we really feeling right now? Put it in the chat, or if you want to come off mute and just say it out loud, either way, but check in. How we doing? One word. Hopeful. That's beautiful. Eager, grateful. How else? I want to know what we're working with today. Determined, yes. And I highly encourage you to do this often. How am I really feeling? What's going on? Go beyond good, fine, and just busy, because everybody says that when you check in with each other, right? Excited, curious. Yes. Okay. We're going to have this energy throughout. Super excited. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. We only have 1 hour together, so I want to make sure we make the most of it. But to start, want to just again have you think about these ideas and check in and maybe make a note if any of these pop up for you. But have you ever had something to say, but held back because you were afraid of saying the wrong thing? Hand up. Has anyone ever felt that? Okay. Have you ever said to yourself, maybe in another life that could happen? Maybe in another life I could go after that opportunity, go after that major, go after that career? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Have you ever stopped yourself from applying for a role or asking for that promotion because all these thoughts are coming in your head like, no, I'm not ready? And last, have you ever deflected a compliment by saying, oh no, it was nothing, or it was the rest of the team, but not me? For sure. Yes. Okay. And specifically, the topic, this is the first generation edition. So, some other potential limiting beliefs that we're going to jump into. If you're first generation, and we'll talk about what that means, have you ever felt guilty for having experiences that your family hasn't had? Have you ever felt pressure to make sure that your family sacrifices were worth it? Have you ever downplayed an achievement because you didn't want to brag? And have you ever felt like an outsider at home and at work, maybe? If you said yes to any of these, the previous slide or this slide, you might have some deeply rooted limiting beliefs. And we're going to talk about what that is and how you can get past it. But all of what we're going to talk about is really around the power of our language. When we say things like, we're not ready, I'm not ready, or I don't know if I can do it, we're already downplaying what we can do. And we're going to talk about possibilities. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. Is there a hand raised because you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
I know you're gonna get into it, but you said first generation. You mean first generation American or first generation in college?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in a second. But
Mhm.
first generation can mean a lot of different things. So I'll get right to that in a minute.
Okay, thank
Perfect.
you.
Before we jump in, I just want you to think about this question. What would it feel like to confidently step into your potential? It's a big question. It's a big, big question. So I'm curious for you all. Like, just think about this. And what would that feel like? I'm fully stepping into my potential confidently, authentically. And we're going to carry this question throughout our time together. So Donovan gave a great intro. Thank you so much. A couple things that I want you to know about me specifically is that I come from HR. So I've seen this on the other side. I've seen how people don't ask for the promotions that they deserve, don't negotiate salaries because they don't think they're ready or they don't think they deserve it. There's so much that we stop ourselves from that I've seen, again, being on the HR side. And now I get to be on this side, teaching you all how to move past these limiting beliefs, because I think it's incredibly important to, especially for you all that you're early enough in your journeys, don't take in these limiting beliefs. How do we dispel them now before you're 15, 20 years in your career and still trying to undo some of these beliefs? So it's really cool we're having this conversation now. And a little bit of my story, my first generation experience. So we are talking, let me actually jump ahead to this slide because we are talking about a couple different things. First generation can mean you're the first in your family to go to college. It could mean that you were the first in your family to be born in the US. It could be that you're the first to work in a corporate setting, that you're the first to travel even, right? A lot of folks that maybe didn't have the opportunity, or if they came here from a different country, maybe not have the opportunity to travel, or first to start your own business. So first generation can be a couple different things, but really it's, again, how you define it. And I will share with you that I didn't have this language when I was in college. I knew that I was different. I knew that there was something there, but I never had the language to say, I'm first generation and this is what it means. But I was the first in my family to go to college. Out of everybody, all the cousins, like everybody in my extended family, first to go to college, proudly graduated from Loyola Marymount University. I was the first in my family to work in HR and navigate these careers that, I really didn't have people around me that could mentor me, guide me in that way. I was climbing the corporate ladder. You do the thing you're supposed to do, right? Keep getting your promotions. My vision was to be head of HR one day because you're supposed to. You should. You graduated with this degree in HR. You should do the thing. But let me back up and also say that growing up, my family said I had to be either a doctor or a lawyer to be successful. That was one of the first limiting beliefs that I had to break down, because success doesn't just mean you're a doctor or a lawyer. You can have so many definitions of success. And that's where, I again had to break through that. I was the first in my family to travel, study abroad, travel, go to places. And all of that, also another limiting belief, brought a lot of guilt. I wish my family could go with me. I wish that they could see these things too. And when you're first generation, if you don't learn how to manage those beliefs, it can hold you back. So one day we had an event at work and they asked me to draw how I see myself. And I don't know why, but I literally drew a vision of me presenting. And I really wasn't doing that in my role in HR, not at all. And I'm terrible at drawing. Maybe I'll show you what I drew, but it was just a vision of me presenting. That was in April of 2023. By August of 2023, a few months later, I had quit my job and I was presenting to people. And I get to present now to you all, right? And that's where the power of understanding what are these limiting beliefs. I could have told myself, I'm not successful if I don't keep climbing the ladder in HR. But rewriting that and rewriting the beliefs, and we'll talk about how to do that, can be incredibly powerful to pivot towards the type of career you want, that you can design, that you can create for yourself, whatever you envision for yourself. So we all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different experiences, education. That shapes how we see the world. So I kind of said to you, my family was, well, let me ask, has anyone else been told that you have to be a doctor or a lawyer to be successful?
Yeah.
A lot of us, especially if you happen to be first generation or just in general, a lot of us have been told, like, pick one: doctor, lawyer, maybe engineer. I hated blood, so for me, it was lawyer. So when I decided not to be a lawyer, there was some disappointment, right? But that's where we need to understand that there's a lot that shapes our experiences and our family's experiences and what we bring and the filters that we see the world through. So the same way that I'm wearing glasses and I see some of you wearing glasses, we all have different prescriptions, right? That's the same way we see the world. We can see the exact same thing, the exact same situation, but we are going to interpret things very differently. We're going to feel very differently about different situations. To test that, I'd love 2 to 3 volunteers. Please raise your hand. I see one hand raised. I don't know if you were volunteering for this, but if you're willing, stay with me.
Yeah, I could.
But
Yeah, I could do it. Yeah, yeah.
beautiful. Okay. And then Donovan, if we can spotlight would be amazing. I don't know if we can, but I'd love for you to just share in this image. Tell me a little bit of a story. What do you see here?
I see a woman hugging a woman, and they're probably meeting up somewhere because she has food in her hand. So
Mhm.
I'm not gonna make assumptions that they're related or anything, but they seem
Make
to
make
go
a make
way.
a little bit of a story. Make a little bit of an assumption. Tell me who they are.
Okay, so mom and the daughter.
Okay.
The mom is visiting the daughter for her not even her birthday. Like she got a promotion. Let's say that because we're doing like a work setting. So she got a promotion, and then she's coming to visit her.
I love it. Very
Yeah, and
cool.
it's been a
Okay.
while since they've seen each other.
Yeah. Love that story. Thank you so much for sharing. Is it Layla? Layla? Please tell me how to pronounce it.
Lila, yeah.
I have a cousin named Layla, so that's I wanted to make sure.
Nice.
Tell me a little bit of a different story.
I think I see I wouldn't say it's a work reunion. It kind of reminds me of a family reunion. Maybe that's her aunt
Ooh,
or their sisters, and it just seems like they were embracing and they haven't seen each other in a long time.
yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And one more. Can you pronounce your name for me, please?
My name is Ehizela.
Ahizela, thank you so much for volunteering. Give me another story. What's going on in this picture?
I think maybe she's might have been having a hard time or something, and she brought over a cake
Mm,
to make her feel better. And she's just glad to see that it's been a while, and it's probably a form of encouragement.
yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. What is really interesting, we're all looking at the same exact image. One image. We don't have much context. We don't know who they are, their names, where they're coming from, what's really going on here. We can all create different stories based on what we might be experiencing. So when I personally see this picture, I just celebrated a birthday. So it's bringing memories of this fruit tart that my friends gave me, being with my mom. Like I start to connect based on what I know to be true, my experiences, my background. Right. Thank you. So sweet. But that's where it's a really great reminder for all of us. We heard 3 different stories. We're celebrating a promotion, there's a family reunion, someone's going through a hard time. Right, but we won't know until we get to ask and get curious and understand that our filters, the way we see the world, is going to be different from everybody else. And it's a good thing. We should celebrate that. We all have unique perspectives, unique visions. So that's where, one, we need to understand where we're coming from first and where others might be coming from. Now we need to recognize that our thoughts are going to affect our feelings and are going to affect our action. So, in the story we just shared, if we're painting a story about a really positive situation, it's going to bring in feelings of joy, excitement, and we might want to celebrate and move and act in one way. If we're talking about something that was rough, not something positive, it's going to bring maybe feelings of sadness, of frustration, any other feeling that it might elicit, and we might then feel a little stuck. We don't know how to move. We don't know how to move forward. So it's really powerful to think of our language as a way to shift how we feel and what we do. So, for example, if we say things like, I'm not ready for that opportunity. I'm not ready to go after whatever it is you want. You're going to elicit those feelings of doubt, of insecurity, of fear. And then you may not go for that role. You might miss out on opportunities. all based on the language that you started with. So a couple examples here, shifting from I think I can to I know I can. Raise your hand if you can feel that difference. I think I can. I know I can, right? Our language is powerful. I should be a lawyer because my parents told me I should be. Or I want to be a coach and a trainer because I get to be in rooms like this. You see the difference? I want to. Rejection, I was rejected from this opportunity versus, you know what, that opportunity was not for me. I'm being redirected. Our language can be incredibly powerful if we know and are aware of the words we're using, what we're choosing to believe. So this is where we come into this idea of limiting beliefs. And we kind of at the top of this started to see that there may be some limiting beliefs if you're holding yourself back from something, not wanting to say the wrong thing, feeling maybe a little guilty of, having experiences that people around you haven't, right? But limiting beliefs are these subconscious and restrictive thoughts that can shake our confidence, cause us to create self-imposed barriers, tend to foster that doubt and fear, and stop us from achieving our full potential. We all have them. It's just a matter of being aware of them. What are they? What are the stories that we've been fed that are internal stories based on, again, our filters, our families, society, what you see in the media, right? We all shape our filters and perspectives, and we create these limiting beliefs that hold us back. So I want to give some examples. 1, resting is lazy. Does anyone have that limiting belief? I'm curious to hear. If you rest, you're lazy. Okay. Yeah, a couple. Asking for help is a sign of weakness. You got to do it yourself. You got to figure it out. Pull yourself up from the bootstraps, right? Like, don't ask for help. You can do this. Anyone have that one? I for sure did. Oh, yeah. Success is based on my title and salary. This one is interesting. Whenever we, meet with somebody or we're introducing ourselves, we're like, well, what do you do? Right? We never really ask, like, who are you? What do you like? We tend to focus on your title and level, right? But success is more than that. And redefining what success is, besides just title and salary, is incredibly powerful. I should be grateful for any opportunity I get. Anyone have this one? This was a big one for me. And I hear this a lot, especially with other folks that identify as first generation. Like, just be grateful because opportunities weren't as abundant for a lot of, our families coming to this country or being first to graduate from college, right? So I should be grateful for any opportunity, then limits the types of opportunities you go for because you're just grateful to be there, right? You can be grateful and know what you deserve. Pursuing your passion is a luxury. I need to be realistic. This one I got from my brother, and I'll share a very quick story. My brother is a sports reporter, and he had but we do not have any connections at all. Like, this was him going after a dream job. And everybody in our family was like, be realistic. Find something that is going to be easier. Be real. We can hire you over here. Do something else. It was hard, of course, but people will give you advice based on what they're willing to do for themselves. So when others tell you, be realistic, pursuing your passion as a luxury, that's their limiting belief. And you don't need to take that on. So this is a really important one, being aware of this. Investing in myself or setting boundaries is selfish. Does anyone have this one? Yeah. And you see how quickly we can come up with, there's so many more out there in the world, but these are some really common ones that I see in a lot of my clients, a lot of myself, people around me, other first generation folks. And these types of limiting beliefs can stop us. If we believe truly that resting is lazy, we're going to go straight to burnout because we don't know how to take care of ourselves. If we don't know how to ask for help because we think it's a sign of weakness, same thing. We're going to only go as far as we can go without knowing that we can go so much farther in community and in support. If we believe that success is only based on my title and salary, if I kept that belief, I wouldn't feel very successful because I'm not the head of HR, but now I'm CEO of my own thing, right? We're redefining what success can be. If you just feel grateful for any opportunity, you're going to always wonder, what if I went further? What if I had this idea and knowing that I have limitless potential, not limiting beliefs? Do we see how language can be incredibly powerful? I want to pause here. What are you hearing in this, or any questions before we move into how to shift out of these limiting beliefs? Are y'all still with me? Give me a thumbs up. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. Hi, my name's Jocelyn.
Hi,
How
Jocelyn.
do you kind of, I know we may talk about this and you might jump into this into the next part, but
Mhm.
how do you get out of these limitations when your support system and your only support system is the ones, saying these things to you, or the ones that are limiting you?
Yes, this is a huge, huge question because we, of course, are good. Like, it's funny because I have this saying that my family always says in Spanish, and I'm trying to translate it real quick in English, but it's like, tell me who you're with and I'll tell you who you are. Right. So a lot of times we get these messages from people that we're around and it shapes who we are. But I think you just being in the room right now is going to be incredibly powerful to connect with other people that are also going to be battling some of these limiting beliefs. Networking, connecting, creating community, being a part of like-minded folks that are looking to expand is helpful. When your only support system is, feeding a lot of these limiting beliefs, it can be hard to break out of that, but the more you raise that self-awareness, you can start to choose what you want to believe. So, I'll give you a perfect example. Just yesterday, I was with my mom and obviously love my mom, but a lot of the limiting beliefs that I grew up with came from her. And I was telling her, there's an opportunity that I got. I'm so excited. And she's like, "Oh, just be grateful." I was like, "Yes, I'm so grateful. And I'm choosing to celebrate because I worked really hard on this and I deserve to celebrate." And it's not bragging, it's showing what the possibilities are. Right. So once we start to see what others are saying, how language is affecting us, even if again, it's around your support system, we can also teach them once we have that awareness. Start to infuse different kind of language with your own communities. And I think my mom might be sick of me teaching her all these things, but I constantly do. I'm like, yes, and I can believe this, and I also choose to believe that celebrating myself and recognizing myself is a really cool thing. Does that answer the question, Justin?
Yes, yes, that's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, of course. And thank you, Adriana. That's exactly the one. It is. You got it. All right. So I want you all to write down one limiting belief you hold. And I'm going to go back to this one. If any of these resonated with you, feel free to write it down. Or if there's another one that's popping up for you of limiting beliefs, write it down. Can you pronounce your name for me? Is it Ikenna?
Yes, he kind of. Are we gonna share it afterwards or?
We unfortunately won't have
Mhm.
time. If you're willing to work with me in the example, happy to. But
Okay.
this is your own limiting belief. I don't want to pry, I want you to
Mhm.
hold on to this too. But write it down for yourself. Like, what's
Okay.
one
Thank
that
you.
you're noticing that you feel has been holding you back a bit?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. And you don't have to share, just write it down for yourself. Is anyone having trouble thinking of one, or does everyone have one? Raise your hand if you don't have one. Okay. We all have a limiting belief. Once you start, I will tell you, once you see this, you can't unsee it. You're going to start noticing. So that's the point. It's really important to notice what are the stories I'm feeding myself? What are the stories I'm being fed that aren't serving me, that I want to rewrite, that I want to think of differently, reframe. We'll talk about that. All right. So everyone has their one limiting belief. So here's how we rewrite them. First step is identifying them. People might go their whole lives without knowing they hold these limiting beliefs if they don't know that this belief has held them back from asking for the promotion, learning how to rest, learning how to redefine success, learning how to actively pursue their passion because it's so meaningful, right? We need to identify what these limiting beliefs are, which is what you just did, first step. Then we can start to challenge these beliefs. Is this really true? Do I want to believe that rest is lazy? Right? You know, and this, I'll give you a personal example, definitely comes from my childhood, where if I was sitting on the couch, it was like, no, 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 get up and clean. Like there's always something to do around the house, right? Resting is lazy. That's what I was fed. But again, we have the power to rewrite, to challenge what these beliefs are. Are they serving us or not? And then we can reframe. Using the power of our language, we can write a new belief. And that's what we're going to do. So here are some questions that we're going to go through, and we'll go one by one. Look at your limiting belief. Where did this belief come from? Was it family, society, your education, your own experiences? Where did it come from? And write it down. Then we move into, do I have evidence that either supports or contradicts this belief? Rest is lazy. I have a lot of evidence that rest is not lazy. I need rest to be able to have the energy to have conversations like this, right? So, what is the evidence that either supports, because sometimes there is evidence that supports it, or contradicts this belief? And think about this for your own. If anybody is willing to share their limiting belief, raise your hand, and that way we can show an example of how to do this. Perfect. Okay, perfect. We'll do two. Okay, we'll start with Ikenna. Do you mind sharing what your limiting belief is?
Yeah, my limiting belief is comparing myself to other people. I'll say that. Yeah.
Okay, tell me more, tell me a little bit more.
So, maybe it's because I'm from a competitive high school. Because I mean,
Mhm.
it's been going back since like high school. Like when people started getting into colleges, people would always compare what schools they got into, something like that. I mean, even with like internships, sometimes people compare internships to other people. So
Okay.
like that. I. So you want me to answer like questions 1, 2, 3, and 4?
Yes. So I just want to make sure I'm hearing correctly. Is the belief like I have to compete with others to
Yeah,
win or to succeed?
it's like yeah, and it's like basically, oh, I didn't get to the same degree or notoriety at where they are right now, so I'm not
Mm,
doing anything right. So like comparing yourself or like belittling, or maybe it's like considered
hmm.
belittling yourself based on other people's success. So I'll say
Okay.
that. So always comparing, or that's kind of being competitive at the end of the day. So I'll say that.
Yeah.
So where
Okay.
did I get this belief from? I'll
Hmm.
say I got this belief from maybe like playing competitive sports because I played basketball. So
Yeah.
that nature of, oh yeah, you didn't make varsity as a sophomore or junior. That could come to be as like, oh, that's like not good at your age.
Yeah.
So it's like comparative.
Fair.
Do I have
Okay. And then
evidence? Oh my bad. You can
you
go.
you do have evidence, but do you have
Mhm.
evidence that contradicts that it always has to be a competition?
Yeah, I'll say yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll say that. An example I guess use is instead of just always thinking everything's a competition, it's I guess still do the example with basketball, for example. maybe instead of, oh, I didn't make the team as a sophomore, uh, maybe it's because, oh, the team's very good, something like that. Maybe it's like you
Mm,
don't belittle yourself, just like up, bring up the people around you and say like, oh yeah, it's not I'm not the reason why. It's the other
yeah.
people. Shifting the blame, I could say.
Yeah. Focusing on what you can control and celebrating
Hmm.
others. Like, you know what? Good for you. Okay.
Yeah.
What might be different if you didn't hold on to this belief of everything has to be a competition? And if I don't get it, I'm less than, right? Like,
I,
what would be
I
different if you didn't believe that?
I would say like I probably more not. I would say not even more lazy. I won't have as big of a drive. So I mean, it's like a good thing and a bad thing. But I think like,
Hmm.
especially with the job market now, you can't just wait for something to appear. You have to be hungry for it. So I'd
Hmm.
rather have that mentality, even though it's like not a good mentality per se, than have like, oh, let me just not care. Let me just not care or worry, have no care of what's going on. Something like that. I think
Yeah.
that's better.
Yeah. And I hear you. I mean, we all need a little
Hmm.
competitiveness, right? Like a little drive, a little ambition. But I'm curious, can the competition and drive be like, I'm competing against myself because I
Yeah.
want everybody to win, right? There's
Mhm.
enough for all of us if we choose to believe that.
Yeah.
So I kind of offered a potential thought, but you tell me, like, what would be a more positive and empowering thought around this idea of, yes, I want to be a little competitive, but what is a belief that you want to walk away with?
A belief I want to have. Instead, it could be like, oh yeah, what that person did is good, but what I'm also doing is good.
Yeah,
Don't take everything for granted per se. Like, be happy in the moment. Think of the moment. Like, also still like I'll still be competitive. There's nothing wrong with being competitive at the end of the day, but don't be too
right.
competitive. That's my opinion. Just don't be too
Yeah,
competitive and let the day go on. I mean, at the end of the day, it's only a title, and you're not going to be remembered for that title. So it is what it is.
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel coming out of this limiting belief?
I feel better. Yeah.
And it's going to be a while. The other thing I will say is it takes time to rewrite these beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we need to keep repeating everything you just said. Like, yes, I'm going to be competitive because it's important to have a drive. But if they win, great. If I win, great. We're going to all win together and having more of that
Yeah.
community success, right? So
Mm-hmm.
write down your new belief and repeat it and say it and learn to believe it because you're going to rewrite this old belief. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing. I think we have time for
Thank
one more. Jocelyn.
It was on mute. Yes.
Do you mind sharing your belief, your limiting belief?
Yeah, sure. My limiting belief would be my success is based on my salary and title.
Okay. Where
I
did this
chose
belief
that.
come from?
Um, well, the career, my major is journalism, and I'm a very creative person, and that's the path, and my passion lies between those lines. But I am the only person that in my family that's going to college or has gone to college for something creative.
Mm,
That is choosing that route instead of something in like finance or medical or something that is to be to believed more financially stable. So,
mm-hmm,
and growing up, my family, my particularly my father and my brother, they tell me that journalism, it doesn't make a lot of money, and that I need to just go into something else or kind of like gear my way into a profession that has a higher salary so I can support myself. Um, yeah, that's mainly, I think that's where that stems from.
yeah, that's fair. Okay. Do you have evidence that contradicts this belief? That the only way you can make money is if you're in finance, or that it's, success is your title and salary.
Um, Um, I believe so. I follow a lot of like successful creatives and journalists, photographers, videographers, people that are doing the same thing that I'm interested in. I know that it's possible. Um, I just know it will take some time and that it'll have to be done a little bit differently um, than maybe other ways that has been done, given my particular situation. But then it
Yes.
also, I have a belief too that it's just been difficult compared to some other journeys I've seen other people take their journeys.
Mhm.
That's another issue. I know someone mentioned comparing
Mhm.
because of sports, and I was an athlete as well. So that also maybe stems from that as well.
Yeah, okay. And that's fair. And one thing I'll share with you there is everyone's going to tell you it's hard, of course, and it is hard to create your own path. I'll share personally, so many people are like, "What are you doing leaving your salary behind to be an entrepreneur? That's going to be so hard. Other coaches barely make any money, or it's going to be impossible." Maybe for them, but I haven't tried yet. And having that confidence and that opportunity to say, you know what, I hear you. It is difficult. I don't say it's going to be easy, but I haven't been the one to try yet. And I'm going to try because you can create something that you want to create, right? So for you, what would be different? Or, maybe we could jump ahead a little bit. What's a more positive thought that you want to hold on to instead of success is only your title and salary? It has to come from finance or other more stable careers. What's a new belief that you want to hold on to?
That um, having a creative profession is financially stable, and it has very different the success just looks different for it, but it is a successful career,
Yeah,
and I can be happy and stable with a creative career. I just have to be patient.
yeah. You have to be patient and create it, right? You have every opportunity to create the exact career you want. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. How do you feel?
Feel good. I'm glad that I got to share that and hear that. That's very reassuring.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And for everyone else who didn't yet have a chance to share, I really encourage you to do this and have this conversation with anyone you trust to maybe, either take a screenshot of this, ask these questions, share these questions, because I think it's incredibly empowering and powerful to rewrite what we say to ourselves, what we believe. And again, going back to this idea that language is power. What we say becomes our reality. So if you're constantly saying, "Oh no, I can't, I shouldn't," then that's where you're going to keep limiting yourself versus, you know what? I haven't yet tried and I'm going to try because I believe that I can create the success that I want. And success right now, yes, maybe I'm going to take a dip in financial compensation, but my success is coming in being able to have these conversations with you all right now. Right. So having this shift in your mindset is so powerful. All right. Any questions before I move on to the next thing? Y'all still with me? All right. So I'm going to give an example here of how, again, you can reframe. And I think these pictures might tell you a little bit of how old I am with that very millennial shirt over there. But one old belief I held on to, and you can be standing in the exact same place. The only thing that shifts is your mindset, right? So the old belief is that I have to hide parts of my identity to fit in. And I've been fed that society, we talk a lot about assimilation, family saying just fit in, don't make waves, just be grateful. I have to hide parts of my identity. I can't come off too Latina, too female, whatever, you identify with, like being afraid to share who you are. But I also have seen how powerful it is to be fully authentically you. And the opportunities that come to you when you tap into that authenticity of who you are. So, my new belief and what I choose to believe is that owning my authenticity is a sign of strength and confidence, and it will attract the right people and the right opportunities. So, rewriting that belief for myself again has been incredibly powerful because I know what it feels like to code switch, to feel like I can't share too much of who I am for fear of being judged, fear of what others are going to say. But once you start to realize, you know what, authenticity is our superpower. There's a lot of people that are going to try to tell you otherwise. There's a lot of fear out there. Totally understand, especially for first generation right now. There's a lot happening. But fully aligning yourself with this idea and believing that if you're authentic, the right opportunities and the right people will come your way. My evidence is, again, opportunities like this, to be in spaces like this with you all. I shared with you, I drew this vision of presenting, but fully believing that I can have these conversations and it'll attract the right opportunities. It's powerful. One other ugly limiting belief out there is imposter syndrome. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of imposter syndrome, have ever said you had imposter syndrome, have heard others say it. Okay. Okay. After this session, I never want to hear anyone in this room say the words imposter syndrome. We're going to remove that from our language because our language is so powerful that if we keep tapping into this idea that we have imposter syndrome, we're going to believe it and we're going to hold ourselves back. And I've said it myself too. Oh, here's my imposter syndrome. I can't go after this opportunity. They're going to find out that I'm an imposter. There's also this idea that, and real evidence that there's such thing as imposter phenomenon, where it's not about you, because the imposter syndrome makes it feel like there's something wrong with you, but it's a misdiagnosis because there are truths that there's a lot of spaces that were created not for certain groups, right? There's a lot of spaces that were not accessible to people of color, workplaces, certain settings. It just weren't, certain roles that were not created. So we see a lot of, leadership looking one way, and we're like, well, I'm the only Latina in the room, or I'm the only insert your background in the room. There's a reality that there aren't as many because there just haven't been the opportunities. But just because you're the only in the room doesn't mean you'll be the last. So making sure that you are aware that any room you find yourself in is because you're supposed to be there. Okay. So whenever we start to feel this idea of imposter syndrome, or saying imposter syndrome is in our way, or I'm feeling this way, literally just saying things like, I don't have imposter syndrome, I don't even know what that is, and shifting to redefining it. And there's 4 ways that we can redefine it very quickly. And I want you, again, to take a screenshot of this, remember this, write this down. But if you ever start to feel this feeling of I'm an imposter, first, what's the limiting belief behind it? There's always a limiting belief here of, women are not supposed to be heads of companies, or I haven't seen many women, right? That can be a limiting belief. Or it can be, anything around it, I'm not ready for this opportunity. Okay, let's unpack that. And you have the questions to rewrite that limiting belief. Next, we go to skills and experiences. Okay, if you're starting to feel a little out imposter, what skills or experiences do you just not yet have or not feel as confident in? It always goes down to, how can we then shift our focus, not just labeling it imposter syndrome, but what skills do I need to focus on here? If I, have to do a speech or go on stage to do something, I could let my imposter syndrome kick in, or I could say, you know what? I just need to practice my skill of speaking publicly. And that's what I need to focus on. Or I haven't yet had that experience. How can I get that experience? Okay. If I'm going after a manager role, I've never been a manager. Who am I to think I'm a manager? Or I can study and get information about what it means to be a manager, tap into some leadership skills, focus on the skills and the experiences that you just haven't yet had, but will go after. Third, fears. Sometimes imposter syndrome comes in because of some fear that's trying to protect you. Fear of failure, fear of being seen, even fear of success. What happens if this all goes well? I don't, trying to limit ourselves a little bit. I had a client recently share that they have a deeply, rooted limiting belief that the higher you climb, the harder the fall. Or we could redefine it and say the higher I climb, the more I can create opportunities for others to come along. Right? So the fear that might be stopping you, again, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of being seen, fear of what others are going to think about me, fear of being the only in the room, that no one understands you. That's what's really happening. Don't just call it imposter syndrome. What's the fear, and how can I redefine that fear, reframe that fear? One thing that I learned that is so powerful is excitement and fear have the same physiological signs: sweaty palms, butterflies in the stomach, maybe heart racing, sweating. It's all about just how you label it. You're still feeling physically and physiologically the same thing, but you can say, oh my gosh, I'm so scared right now. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so excited right now. And it's a reframe of what you're saying. And again, tapping into the power of your language. And if all else fails, the shortcut, instead of why me, is why not me? Why not me? If I'm going to go after this role, but you know what? There's like 20 other applicants just in this room right now. They're all so, you know, um, successful, have great backgrounds, but you know what? Why not me? And I'm still going to show up fully, confidently, do my best. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, great, because rejection is redirection. You see how our language can start to shift our experiences? I'm going to pause here. Any questions? I'd love to hear from somebody too. What are you hearing in all of this? What's sparking for you? Any reflections, especially around imposter syndrome?
I'll go ahead and go. The why not me part. So like one of my limiting beliefs was I don't deserve this, or someone else should get the opportunity. I guess that's something that I've dealt with a lot, but I have had people try to, redirect my thinking and, say why not me, and just try to get me to have more. It's not that I don't have confidence in myself, but like I guess it's just more of guilt, for like you said in the beginning, for people who
Mm,
haven't made it to the places that I'm at. And I guess I just wanted to chime in. That's just my biggest thing that I'm dealing with right now, probably. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, that's huge. And I don't know if I heard this correctly, but it might be like there's other people who are so successful, so capable, or should be successful and have these opportunities because they're capable and so smart. Why do I get this opportunity?
Pretty much. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
okay, because you're supposed to. That's part of your story, part of your journey. And now that you are succeeding, you can create opportunities for others. Kind of like back to Ikenna's limiting belief. You can then say, well, I win, you lose. Or we can say, I win and you win, and here's how. All right. So shifting that language and knowing, that's always going to pop up. I don't deserve this. Maybe you've been told that. Maybe there's other, reasons that that's a belief that comes true. But why not me? Super, again, 3 words that can totally shift. And I'll tell you personally, I went through something really similar where I applied for something and I'm like, oh my gosh, there are so many other very experienced people. I could easily have said, you know what, just let them, let them. Or I could say, you know what, I'm also going to put myself in the position and try. If it works, great. If it doesn't, great. Right? Any other thoughts or reflections before we start to wrap? Okay. Alrighty. So one, I would love your feedback, because I always want to make sure that if there's opportunities to enhance this talk, happy to. And one thing I love to teach everyone is that feedback is such a gift. So before we start to wrap, please scan the QR code, go to this link, um, and share some feedback. It takes less than a minute, I promise. Share some feedback. And we'll come back to this page, but grab it now if you can. I love to share a lot of content like this. So if there's anything that you want to learn more about, please feel free to reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn, expand your networks. You should start connecting with everybody you meet on LinkedIn because that network is so powerful. And if you have Instagram, like I don't have TikTok, right? I actually do, same handle, but I don't use it. Instagram as well. If you're interested in learning more or getting more of this content or different types of questions, you can ask yourself for coaching. And one quote that was really powerful that I want to leave you with here is America Ferrera, first generation leader and very well known actress. She said, I had to find my confidence in spaces that weren't built for me. But once I realized I belonged just as much as anyone else, everything changed. And I hope that again, as you start to notice these limiting beliefs, that you can rewrite them, know that you fully belong in any room that you find yourself in. And you all have a vision of what success can look like. I said I would share my terrible, terrible drawing, so I will. But I literally drew something, don't laugh, something like this in this art therapy team building thing I brought to my organization. They said, how do you see yourself? This is what I drew. And now my vision came to life because I rewrote limiting beliefs and I was able to create the opportunity for myself to be here presenting to you all today. So thank you so, so much for being here. I hope you took at least one thing from this and that you do something with this because there's no point in listening to me for an hour if you don't do something with this afterwards. Thank you, Brian. I'm not an artist. That is not my skill, and that is not a limiting belief. But please, if you have a takeaway, I would love to hear it. Share it in the chat. Come off mute and share it. I'll stick around for a few. Want to make sure we have some time for questions because I want you to walk away with all the confidence you need to design your dream careers. Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you. Let me get this off of the screen. Brian.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you so much for your talk today. It was very, very helpful and very insightful. I can often relate to, as a first generation student myself, and from a Latino household. A lot of the topics that you talked about related to me, the whole like, go to college, become a doctor, become a lawyer. And then, when you branch off that path, it's like, oh, well, am I a failure? But
Mm-hmm.
or is it like, am I looking for something that actually interests me versus what I should be doing?
Yeah.
So that's why I think what I'm doing right now is public health, which still like I have had an interest in like healthcare and how to better improve it. So it's, but it's not like a doctor per se. You know what I mean? But
Right.
that's really where my passion is, and just hearing you talk and having this opportunity with inroads, of course, like um, you know, I had that imposter syndrome before, but listening to others' experiences and seeing how I'm not alone helps so
Mm-hmm.
much. Um, to feel like I belong.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And that will be, promise me that's the last time you say the words imposter syndrome.
Yes, I promise.
Beautiful. And I'm curious, what is driving you towards public health? Give me the why.
For me, just growing up, I've always been very connected with my community, whether that's like in my neighborhood, just helping out, volunteering, especially for the Latino community. We need representation. We want leaders who look like us,
Right.
and I never had that. There's never been a someone who I can relate to who went to college, who has that good job, who is like inspiring others to be like them. um
Yeah.
but I guess that's why we're here now, right? We're the new leader.
Yeah. Yes. That's exactly right. Just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And kind of similar, that's why I became a coach. I could have stayed on my path towards HR, but I didn't see other Latina coaches doing what I could do. So I became what I wanted to see. So for you, this deep passion, and I feel that truly of I want to help my community. I want to support my community. And if you can add in success is supporting my Latino community and making sure that there's visibility of what is possible, then you are already successful. Right. And I think what's interesting in this word success, like we're always chasing it. And we hear all these stories of people that have the fancy cars, the nice houses, all these things, and still feel empty or still feel like they're not successful. I can tell you, I relate to that. I've achieved so much and I never felt successful. It was because I wasn't doing what actually was meaningful for me. So for you, success is going to be being a leader in public health and holding on to that definition, knowing that others might have other definitions of success. That's on them. But yours is this. And if you get to live that out, you are already successful. So thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Any other reflections or questions? We have like 2 more minutes. Okay. Habib, did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, that was correct. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I just wanted to say I really like the quote that you shared earlier. That was I think it was like um, finding confidence in spaces that weren't built for you. I felt like that one really
Yes.
resonated with me, um, and I think that was a really great quote, especially me also being a generation immigrant. My parents came from Nigeria, and it was definitely difficult for them growing up here, like a complete 180 from their original lifestyle in
Yeah.
Nigeria, here in the U.S. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And what's interesting about, and you'll hear you're not alone. There's so many stories where people had, different types of lives. Maybe they were doctors or lawyers back in their country, right? Coming here and rebuilding a whole new life, all new language. Opportunities, there is a truth that opportunities were limited. So, there's so much kind of history around this, why people think like you have to be a doctor or a lawyer, because that's what we saw was success. That's what we saw was financial freedom. And there is a reality that we need money to make the world go around, right? Like there is a reality there. But you can have all the money in the world. And if you don't feel successful, you won't be. If you don't redefine what success means to you, you won't be. So I think, there's also an opportunity to thank our parents who came from other countries and know that we also have the opportunity to rewrite our own stories and to redefine what success looks like for ourselves.
I agree
I'll
so
share
much.
with
Yeah.
good. I'll share with you that at first I heard it from my mom, like, what are you doing? Why would you leave a stable job? Like she had just finally got around to the idea that maybe I was successful in HR, even though I would still hear it, but you're not a lawyer, right? But okay, you're
Mhm.
successful enough in HR. Now I pivoted to this and she's like, what are you doing? But now when I share how cool opportunities I get to do, now she's like, okay, I guess we're redefining success again.
I think success comes in a lot of different forms, and yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
just realizing that that's really important.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. Awesome. That is our time, everyone. Please feel free to connect. Feel free to give feedback. I am so grateful for the opportunity for you joining me today and having this conversation. And I hope it doesn't end here. Keep the conversation going. Thank you so much.
For sure. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for sharing your insight and wisdom with us today. Your message around challenging limiting beliefs and stepping into one's potential was, incredibly powerful and timely. You guys, before you head to your next session, please just take a moment to complete the survey. Your feedback helps INROADS continue to create impactful programming for future leaders like you. And just make sure you check out your conference agenda so you know where you can go next. All right, you guys. Once again, Lindsay, thank you. Appreciate you. Nicole might have a question. I see a hand up. Oh, never mind. They left. All right, Lindsay. You have a nice day, all right?
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.